1.5 minutes to go. Okay, will do. Okay, everyone stand by.
What an incredible turnout. Good afternoon, everybody. We're gathered here today, joined by audiences across the country to mark this historic milestone in the South African Reserve Bank's commitment to protecting the value of our currency in the interest of a balanced and sustainable economy. My name is Kganyago, and it gives me just great privilege to be with you here today. And I'd like to start off by extending a warm welcome to several dignitaries who have joined us here at the Nelson Mandela Foundation for the launch of the South African Reserve Bank's new generation of banknotes and coin. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the Deputy Minister of Finance, that's Dr. David Masondo, who will be joining us in a short while. We're also joined by the Governor of the Reserve Bank, Lesetja Kganyago, the South African Reserve Bank's deputy governors and board members, Chief Executive of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Mr. Sello Hatang, as well as the foundation board members, former deputy governors joining us today, representatives of central banks in the SADC region, CEOs of banks here today, dignitaries, including international guests. A welcome as well to members of the media on World Press Freedom Day. And finally, a special welcome to the South African Reserve Bank staff and members of the public who are watching this occasion right now. All protocol observed. Together with the Nelson Mandela Foundation, we're commemorating 10 years since Madiba's passing, and his legacy continues to be a guiding compass for our democracy. Can you believe it's been 11 years since we first held those banknotes bearing a portrait of the late Nelson Mandela, a beacon of social justice. His image has adorned the front of our banknotes since 2012, along with the symbol of our collective heritage, the Big Five on the back, while our coins also boast South Africa's rich fauna and flora. Public confidence and trust in banknotes and coin are absolutely critical to a well-functioning economy. And that's why the South African Reserve Bank regularly reviews our banknotes and coin. We know how disappointing it is to receive a soiled banknote and coin versus the confidence that we have in our money when we receive a crisp banknote and minted coin. So that's why the Reserve Bank, as the only body mandated to make, issue, and destroy banknotes and coin, ensures that they meet the highest quality standards in order to reduce the risk of counterfeiting, and at the same time, contributing to building national heritage and pride. The Reserve Bank pays attention to our general use as consumers, as the public, our patterns of how we use our money, how we handle it, how durable our currency is it long-lasting? What are the manufacturing requirements and the cost of production? And equally important, the Reserve Bank pays attention to what the risks are if we don't upgrade and keep improving our currency. So both South African banknotes and coin are ready to be upgraded, and that's why we're here. Today, South Africa marks a new chapter with the generation of banknotes and coin that are reliable, that are secure, with superior security features, made with the highest quality, and are inclusive of all in our society. And may I say, wrapped in beautiful design. And so to open today's proceedings and to officially welcome you here at the Nelson Mandela Foundation, please join me in welcoming to the stage the Chief Executive of the Foundation, Sello Hatang.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Greetings, Governor. In this building, generally, when we greet, we want to be greeted back. Generally, but because this is the central bank, it might be that those rules don't apply. You know, bankers apparently are generally very stiff. No, that's what I heard. It's an allegation that I heard. So prove them wrong. Good afternoon. You see, bankers are not stiff. They are smiling. They are laughing. So greetings to the governor, to your deputies and the board, to some of the board members of the Nelson Mandela Foundation here present. I know Alice Brown is here, the leadership of the foundation. Thank you very much for being here. And the people of South Africa and the world who are watching us. Nelson Mandela used this space a lot. Last time he actually sat here, one of those times that he sat here was when he gave that speech, "Don't call me, I'll call you." And when he was trying to retire, and it was difficult for him to retire, we continue to call on his legacy at a time that we need it most, which is now. Madiba used to think of money as something that you can use for development, where money in wrong hands can be used for fleshing, but money in good hands can be used for development. And that's why in his case, he would then get into the consciousness of people and ask them, give you a call to say, can you come with me to visit a community? And you go with him, then he'd ask you to build infrastructure to help grow the South Africa that he was dreaming of. That means that we still must remember that the power of money can actually change the lives of many people. We must also remind ourselves that poverty can be humiliating. Those who flash that money in communities that do not have, they tend to then just show you what you might aspire to have, but don't make it possible for you to be able to access it. I hope you understand the difference. So there are those who come in and show you that I've got this Lamborghini. You can aspire to have it, but I won't show you the how. I won't even help you to get access to it. And that's what we need to be reminding ourselves that we must try do. And as we think of Madiba, thank you very much for reminding us that this is the 10th anniversary of Madiba's passing. We miss him. We miss him daily. In these difficult times, his leadership, his political wisdom, and his profound love for his people and the people of this continent and the world. We continue to mourn your death, Madiba, and we know that you are gone, that we must try to create a legacy that can then outlive you, that we always just call on your name to say, come see how we are not building the country of your dreams. And I think if we are to do anything, is to remind ourselves also that we are in crisis. May I mention that any moment we could just go black because of the energy crisis. Unemployment, that's hitting us hard. To understand now that it's continuing to be bigger and bigger, that 65% of young black people do not have jobs. We can't normalize that kind of situation. And as we talk money, how we should be developing our country, we should also be thinking of that statistic. It should bother us. It should give us sleepless nights. We also have climate crisis, which is why this year we're also focusing on that to say we need to be doing more. Climate change used to be something that we thought was coming. It's here now. And we see the effect of that when you go to Durban and Eastern Cape, as it happened recently. We have a leadership crisis, absence of leadership, I should say, but also that we expect leadership to come from somewhere. We are waiting for a Messiah to save us without realizing we should be that Messiah. Everyone should then go back to believing that everyone can be and should lead. And until such time that we do that, it means that we won't be disappointed by our politicians because we will take that leadership on. We live in a state of war. You think of Sudan. In just 2-3 weeks, so many lives lost, infrastructure that's destroyed. And I was with Mrs. Machel yesterday, and we'll be mourning how the absence of the AU at a critical time like this, absence is what we are having as a crisis. Crisis of trust, something that I know, I've been taught by the governor, that it's actually at the back of the note, that every time you think of money, you think trust. And I think if we are to think of that, we then have to always then ask ourselves, can we be trusted with the legacy that Madiba has given us? So the legacy of Madiba's dreams is the country described in the Constitution, inclusive in its growth trajectory. The Constitution can be a tool for transformation if we do not betray its fundamental values and project. We must, at the heart of it, continue to make sure that we build on that trust, that a liberated society where everyone not only has access, but enjoys all of the rights in the Bill of Rights, a transparent country that then believes that tomorrow can be better because we reckon with the past that was. We don't just reminisce about it. We reminisce about it with the future in mind. What will those who are to be born find? Will they find a country that's completely depleted because of crime and corruption? Will they find a country that's completely destroyed because of lack of trust due to race and racism? Are they going to find a country that has nothing to talk about because we've destroyed the little infrastructure that was there? So this year, as we remember Madiba, we must remind ourselves that the legacy needs to live on through us. Each one of us must take on that responsibility of ensuring that we build a transparent, accountable society that reckons with its past and listens to all its voices, particularly of those who are vulnerable, those who are poor, who are just asking to be rescued. Please take me out of this poverty. Those are the voices we should try and listen to more and more. So as I welcome you, I want to just ask you that we do just one little thing for South Africa that Madiba dreamed of, that we build hope, the hope that is dwindling so fast because everything seems to be falling apart. And if Madiba could hold on to it at a time that he had no reason to, when he had just served 7 years in prison, and he continued to say, I'm happy, I'm well, full of hope. And if he could do that, we have no reason not to trust that the future will be better. But we can't just dream about it. We must work hard for that country. So whenever I see the governor, unfortunately, I just think of my bank loan. And it pains me every time when I see the governor, and I'm hoping that he will use that stage to say to us, interest rates are going to go down. That's the kind of hope I was talking about, guys. I could see that you were now drifting. No, I'm talking about give us hope to say interest rates are going to go down, the currency will be stronger, and that as the currency grows, the governor will make sure that our home loans will be cheaper and petrol will be low. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Ntate Hatang. Your warmth is always infectious, and really some thought-provoking reflections there. Truly sobering and thought-provoking. That's what you've done, in fact. A sort of a challenge is what you've laid out in the room. But I think part of what you said is reflected in the importance and the significance and the steadfastness that we see in the Reserve Bank's commitment to safeguard the aspect or the parts of the economy that they're responsible for. And one of the things that I wanted to get into was really about confidence and trust coming out of what you were saying. Because for there to be confidence and trust in our banknotes, in order for that to flourish, it's super important, absolutely important, that we as the public become very aware of the security features that are embedded in our banknotes and coin. We want this economy to work, and so our currency has to protect the value that it represents. So awareness and knowledge of security features is significant for the public because it lessens the risk of accepting counterfeit banknotes and coins, which have no value. And this is especially important, especially in parts of our economy where we use cash mostly. And that's why we urge you. We urge you to spend time studying your money. Look at your money. Look at those banknotes. Look at the coins. Touch them. Note the quality. Just get used to how they feel to the touch. Tilt your banknotes so that you can see the security thread. Hold them up against the light. Identify the watermark. Try and find all of the features that are embedded, that are meant to protect the value that is in your banknotes and coin. And I must say, with the journey that I've traveled with the Reserve Bank leading up to this day, I'm astounded by the amount of research that has gone into the development of our banknotes and coin. It's actually emblematic of the Reserve Bank's values of integrity, of accountability, and excellence. And before we get on to our next speaker, I'd just like to acknowledge the Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. David Masondo, who's now officially joined us. But on that note, I'd like to hand over to the person leading this institution, leading the South African Reserve Bank, and that is Governor Lesetja Kganyago.
Thank you very much, Azania. I've got no doubt if Madiba was here, he was going to make this adjustment. And thank you very much for those protocols because it made my job easier, and I will dispense with the protocols. 6 days ago, on the 27th of April, South Africa celebrated 29 years of democracy. It's just 6 days ago. This year, we mark the 10th anniversary of the passing of former President Nelson Mandela, who signed the country's constitution into law in 1996 in Sharpeville. The constitution bestows a great responsibility on the South African Reserve Bank in building the country's economy. And the constitution reads, and I quote, "The primary object of the South African Reserve Bank is to protect the value of the currency in the interest of balanced and sustainable economic growth in the Republic." Close quote. Moreover, the Constitution continues, open quote, "In pursuit of its primary object, the South African Reserve Bank must perform its functions independently and without fear, favor, or prejudice." It also states that there must be regular consultation between the bank and the cabinet member responsible for national financial matters. I am pleased to say that consultation between myself and the finance minister and our respective teams has been regular and meaningful. And when the minister can't be there, he sends the deputy minister. Welcome, Deputy Minister. The consultation about the upgraded banknotes and fourth decimal coin series that we are introducing here today has also been fruitful and is the culmination of years of engagement with our key partners in the public and private sectors. These include the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, the South African National Council for the Blind, the Society for the Blind, the Pan-African Language Board, and the South African National Biodiversity Institute, the banking sector, and various industry bodies. These partnerships have ensured that the features on our banknotes and coin are relevant and reflect our culture and heritage. Equally important, are the South African Mint Company, where our coins are minted, represented here by Ms. Hani Mamabulo. These subsidiaries, in addition to the Mint, would include the South African Banknote Company, which print our banknotes, represented here by Ms. Lesetja. But the subsidiaries of the bank perform a very critical function in the management of currency through its life cycle, from design to manufacturing, distribution and circulation, and finally, destroying it once it is unfit for circulation. So you get it. We have got a monopoly not just to print the money and mint the coins. We are also the only ones with the authority to destroy the notes and destroy the mint. So don't ask for an additional autograph on the banknotes. It is there already. It is fitting that we mark the occasion at the Nelson Mandela Foundation, an institution that is mandated to promote Nelson Mandela's lifelong vision of freedom and equality for all, and which signifies his role in embodying the values enshrined in our Constitution. A country's currency must reflect its national identity. Our banknotes and coin have lived through South Africa's rich and dark past. About 230 years ago, Dutch Governor Joachim van Plettenberg first introduced handwritten paper money in the Cape. There was no printing press in the Cape, and the money featured a government fiscal hand stamp showing its value and date of issue. It was only in 1803 that banknotes were printed, but there was no central bank to oversee the printing and issuing of banknotes. When the South African Reserve Bank opened its doors over a century ago in 1921, an objective was to bring about order in the issuance and circulation of domestic currency. Prior to 1921, financial institutions issued their own currency, often causing instability in the economy. The early currency, including the Rix dollar and Stiver denominations, played a significant role in the early economic development of our country. South Africa later used the British pound as its currency, and in 1961, the rand, which was named after the Witwatersrand Ridge, on which Johannesburg is built and where most of South Africa's gold deposits were found, became legal tender, and South Africa moved away from using the pound. The rand's entry coincided with South Africa becoming a republic. Since then, the design of our banknotes and coin have gone through shifts in denomination, showing different industries, depicting South Africa's fauna and flora, and more recently, our very own Madiba. The Big Five debuted in our banknotes in 1992. The Big Five theme was adopted after the unbanning of political parties and the release of political prisoners, reflecting what was considered as a design that would be acceptable to all South Africans. In 2012, the South African Reserve Bank issued the first Madiba banknotes, illustrating Madiba on the front of the banknotes and retaining our Big Five animals on the back. We sadly lost Madiba that following year. In 2018, the South African Reserve Bank issued a set of commemorative circulative banknotes to celebrate Madiba's birthday and acknowledge his contribution to our democracy. These banknotes illustrate Madiba's journey from the rolling hills of the Eastern Cape, featuring his birthplace in Mvezo on the 10 rands, followed by the 20 rand that featured his home in Soweto, The 50 rand shows the site of his capture near Hawick following 17 months in hiding. The 100 rand note depicts Robben Island, where he was incarcerated for 18 of his 27 years in prison. And inspired by his long walk to freedom, the 200 rand note showed the Union buildings where he was inaugurated as President of the Republic of South Africa in 1994. A commemorative circulation 5 rand coin was also issued featuring a portrait of Madiba. Now in 2023, we continue to acknowledge his legacy, and his portrait is still proudly depicted on our banknotes. The denominations animals are visible in various other areas of the banknotes, including the see-through perfect print registration feature and the watermark. The security thread, as well as the spinning circle, which is visible on the bottom right of the banknote, change color in tandem when the banknote is tilted. The banknote denomination colors have also been adjusted for vibrancy, and the tactile marks have been improved to support the visually impaired communities to differentiate between the various denominations by feel. The designs in the coin have been renewed from the last issuance in 1989. Each of the 6 coins in the coin series features an animal or plant. The 10 cents coin features the Cape honeybee. The 20 cents depicts the bitter elu. The 50 cents illustrates the Naisna tobacco. And the 1 rand coin, the king protea. The 2 rand coin, our national animal, the springbok. The southern right whale is shown on the 5 rand coin. The 5 rand coin includes a latent image that transforms from the word 5 to the word rand when tilting the coin, as well as the abbreviation SAB in micro-letting on the inner circle of the coin. While the National Coat of Arms and the 11 official languages of South Africa have been retained on all coins, the 1 rand coin features the national flag instead of a coat of arms. I want to emphasize that the upgraded banknotes, Azania, upgraded banknotes, they are not new. The upgraded banknotes and coin will have the same value as the current banknotes and coin in circulation. And I want to encourage the public to transact with them. Both sets of currency will remain legal tender today into the future. So don't take the old coins and think they are collector's items and think that you can sell them for more at the Reserve Bank. If there is something wrong with the coin and it's damaged, we will replace it with a coin of exactly the same value. If you have got a damaged note, we will replace it with a note of exactly the same value. So don't think that if you bring the 2018 5 rand coin celebrating the 100 years of Madiba, that you will get 5 note series were added. Internationally, it is regarded as best practice for central banks to upgrade the security features on their banknotes every 6 to 8 years. This is to combat counterfeiting, which diminishes the value of real money, robs countries worldwide of billions of their currency annually, and tarnishes the credibility of a currency, thereby impacting negatively on the growth of an economy. Banknotes and coin remain a critical payment instrument that provides South Africans access to formal and informal markets. Cash is familiar, is inclusive, and continues to be used across sectors of society. It is also considered to be a safe haven during times of crisis and is relied upon when other forms of payment are not as easily accessible, it is vital in the functioning of our economy. A public awareness campaign on the changes made to our currency is underway and will be in the market from tomorrow, the 4th of May, and will be introduced into the market incrementally. Denominations of both banknote and coin will be introduced incrementally as well. The changes to the banknotes and coin can also be seen on the SAP currency app, which is free to download, and I urge you to do so from either the Play Store or from the App Store or directly from the Reserve Bank website. The complex tapestry of our history, heritage, people and culture are literally and figuratively interwoven with our currency. When you transact with upgraded banknotes and coin, take a moment to reflect on the beautiful designs and how interconnected we are as a society and people with our environment. On their own, those banknotes and coin are just but a piece of paper. The coins are just a piece of metal. What makes them valuable is that the South African Reserve Bank is standing behind those notes and coin, and we stand ready to protect the value of those banknotes and coin independently and without fear, favor, or prejudice. Those are your notes, and we release them to the South African public tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Governor. And as someone who has had experience just with the new upgraded notes and coin, I must say that I particularly was moved by the themes that are portrayed on them. It's a celebration of our democracy. It's a celebration of Madiba. It's a celebration of our rich heritage and ecology. And it was quite heartwarming to see themes of family and interconnectedness, a reminder of Ubuntu and the fact that families are the building blocks of our society. So congratulations to the South African Reserve Bank. Really has been humbling to see your mandate in action. But I'm sure you're quite eager to see exactly what these details are, what they look like. So let's hand over to the three women who are leading the currency management team within the Reserve Bank as we take a look at the journey through this video.
We upgrade in order to keep up with advanced technology, to combat counterfeit, and lastly, just to be in line with international standards. It's a very extensive process that we follow. Around 4 to 6 years that we do the research in the background. The intention there is to ensure that there's printability. The second thing, where are we going to place these security features? We also do extensive consultation with associations like blind associations so that we cater for that segment of our population.
Now has a honeybee, the 20 cents is an aloe, and the 5 rand is a whale. So when they do see these coins, they must know that it is the new coins, they are legit.
I do acknowledge that our currency looks.
Round of applause. Absolutely beautiful. And congratulations to the teams, Pearl, Liziwe, Hani. In fact, those executives are here in the front, and they took us through the journey that has taken place leading us to this point. So we'll continue with our program as we reflect on an important partnership within our economy, because while the Reserve Bank's main mandate is preserving the value of our currency, another purpose is to be a bastion of institutional strength, contributing to a stable and prosperous economy that serves all in South Africa. The Treasury and the Reserve Bank separately, or manage different parts of the economy, I should say. And the Reserve Bank is responsible for monetary policy, and of course, National Treasury is responsible for fiscal policy. And so today, representing National Treasury and government, let's welcome Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. David Masondo.
Let me say all protocol observed so that I don't miss anyone. And the trust in our notes by assisting with the fight against counterfeiting, which is essential for maintaining financial stability, investment, economic growth, and confidence in our financial system. The negative impact of counterfeiting cannot be overstated. To reiterate what the governor has already alluded to, currency counterfeiting is very costly for the economy and society as a whole. Counterfeiting necessitates central banks to spend considerable resources in upgrading and improving the security of bank notes. In addition, law enforcement agencies allocate substantial resources to detect, deter, and prosecute counterfeiting operations. Economic agents, that is households and businesses, suffer from a direct loss of counterfeiters and have to undertake costly preventative measures. So without these counterfeiting prevention efforts, not only is there a risk that the public could lose confidence in the currency, but there's a greater risk that substantial counterfeiting could generate an increase in the supply of money, thus causing inflation, basically eroding the purchasing power of our currency with huge consequences for society. I need not to tell you about the cost of inflation, on how it erodes the purchasing power of workers, poor households. I need not to emphasize to you how inflation also increases the cost of doing business. So, indeed, these upgrades are an important development in reducing the potential cost of counterfeit, that although governments throughout the world always come up with innovative, inclusive, and security features, criminals are always not that far behind to fake currencies and frustrate detection. Thus, there's a need to continuously ensure that we're vigilant and improve the note technology. A considerable number of South Africans still rely on cash as their primary form of currency. It is therefore important to continue upgrading the security features to safeguard against counterfeiting, which will ensure that our currency remains a trusted medium of exchange for many years to come. The bank, governor, and your colleagues should continue to work and ensure that we use the latest technology to detect counterfeited notes in our economy. Having said that, it is important to realize that while improvements in the security features of our notes are important in improving society's welfare, there is likely to be a multiplier effect on society if these improvements take place in the context of a growing economy. In this regard, there's still more that needs to be done. The IMF, for instance, has projected our annual growth of 0.1% for 2023 in their latest World Economic Outlook published last month, which is lower than the National Treasurer, our projected growth, which we published in the 2023 budget review, which is at 0.9. There are a number of recent projections on growth in 2023, but it will seem the market consensus is currently converging around 0.6% in 2023. While growth projections are low and risks are high, the likelihood of a recession will largely depend. Clearly, there's a need to fast-track policies to stimulate economic growth. Otherwise, a continued slowdown in economic growth will worsen poverty and inequality. Amongst other things, this may potentially generate an increase in currency counterfeiting, as well as the level of criminality due to the levels of high unemployment. And part of the reasons why our economy has not been growing, it's on the supply side, constrained the supply of electricity. I hope we're not going to have load shedding. Telecommunication, water, skills, transport, logistics. And as government, we've been making progress in addressing these supply side constraints on our economy. There are various reforms that we can talk about today, but due to Eskom and improve the availability of existing supply, enabling and accelerate private sector investment in generation, accelerating procurement of new capacity from renewables, gas, and battery storage, and unleash businesses and households to invest in rooftop solar, and more importantly, fundamentally transforming the electricity sector to achieve long-term energy security. There are a number of achievements that we've made in each of this area. It's actually about 10, but because of time, I'll just highlight 6 or 5. The first one, we have lifted the licensing threshold from 1 megawatt to 100 megawatt. And at this stage, we are also saying we shouldn't even have any threshold insofar as energy generation is concerned. And therefore, we're amending the Schedule 2 of Electricity Act to remove the licensing requirement for generation project of any size. We are driving the process of separation of Eskom and making sure that we establish the National Transmission Company of South Africa. And a lot of work has gone in this regard. And it will seem to me that we are on track in solving the generation side of our energy crisis. The challenge has been to get that energy into the transmission. And through fast-tracking the process of establishing this National Transmission Company, we are definitely going to solve that problem of getting the energy that has been generated from the private sector into the grid. And Eskom has been the only monopoly, at least we are a monopoly in generating our currency. But Eskom has been the monopoly in generating electricity in our country. And we have tabled the bill in Parliament to make sure that it's also been difficult for Eskom to do maintenance and other necessary tax liability, both on households as well as the business. We've also enabled municipalities to procure energy from independent power producers so that they don't only rely on Eskom. So this is what Operation Vulindlela has been doing to make sure that we grow our economy through dealing through amongst has been a monopoly insofar as our freight rail is concerned. The legislative changes that we're undertaking are meant to enable third-party outlets our inflation. Many of you are perhaps wondering if the announcement by FATF to grey-list South Africa on how it basically affects our currency and our economy and our ability to participate in the capital markets and the trade. Being grey-listed increases scrutiny on the South Africa's financial system, thus increasing the transaction cost for trade as well as investment. It's like us as PEP individual, politically exposed people. For the bank to transact with us, they've got to do additional bureaucratic measures on us, and that increases, because we're at risk, increases the burden insofar as the transaction is concerned. So similarly, if you are grey-listed like us, you are like a PEP. We're now, we've been PEP'd as South Africa, and therefore, to transact with South Africa, there's additional transactional cost. We, however, have a very strong financial system as a country and security measures integrated in our currency as one such example. And there have also been no deficiencies identified as it relates to our financial sector by FATF. National Treasury and other integral institutions have already begun with corrective measures, which include amendment of the legislation. Within the next few months, we will be reporting progress on how far we're dealing with some of the deficiencies that have been identified by FATF. Government policy's direction is towards economic growth. Fiscal policy continues to support government's objective to reduce debt vulnerabilities with adequate fiscal consolidation effort in the context of a credible medium-term framework. Efforts to improve governance, spending efficiencies are underway together with strengthening of the tax administration. The determination to implement the structural reforms to deal with the supply side constraints are present. Let me conclude by once again commending the bank for enhancing the security features of our notes. This will go a long way towards enhancing the integrity and trust of our notes. Long live the fighting spirit of Nelson Mandela, long live.
Thank you very much to the Deputy Minister for locating the significance of today in the broader economy. Now, today's launch also is a reminder.
Quite humbled and happy that, his 10th year commemoration is, celebrated in this manner of actually making sure. I can't believe it's 10 years. I mean, it's just like a big 5. So I'm quite happy that, and humbled by that fact. The legacy of Granddad means different things to different people. I found for some, it speaks to their Ubuntu. For some, it speaks to the conciliatory aspect of their life. For some, it signifies generosity. So different people can extrapolate different things from his legacy that speaks to their soul. 2023, I'm beginning to think that, not just to think, to believe that Granddad never meant for the Constitution to be cast in stone. He never meant it for it to not be interrogated. And I also believe that certainly leaders lead within a certain context. Our Constitution, parts of it, talk to the context of pre-democracy. Specifically when it comes to our penal laws, I just think that we need to dig deep. It belongs to all of us, which is actually enshrined in our Constitution, that South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
With his inauguration as the country's first democratically elected president.
Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud.
In 2000, we celebrated his tenure as president with the 5 Rand coin, which bears his iconic Madiba smile. To pay tribute to his enduring legacy of building a democratic, equal and unified nation, the South African Reserve Bank issued the Mandela Series banknotes bearing his portrait on the front and the big 5 animals on the back. In 2018, to mark his 100th birthday, the Reserve Bank issued a limited series of banknotes illustrating seminal events in his life. From his birthplace in Mvezo and his early political life in Soweto, to his capture at Howick, leading to his 27 years in prison and election as the country's first black president. This series of banknotes was accompanied by a commemorative 5 Rand coin. As the world marks 10 years since Madiba's passing, the South African Reserve Bank has upgraded its banknotes. His portrait is enveloped by the preamble of our Constitution that he signed into law in 1996. And not too far away is the flag of his beloved country.
But as they say, banknotes and coins really inspire our national pride, and they tell a country's story. That's what they say, that tourists, in fact, get a snapshot of a country just by looking at their banknote and coin. And that's really a summary of parts of who we are as South Africans. So to further celebrate this moment, we close off this event by looking to another form of heritage, and that's poetry. We're joined now by a young star in the arts as well as in academia. She's a UNICEF volunteer program advocate, as well as a Zanele Mbeki fellow in feminist leadership. She's an anthropologist as well as an award-winning writer and poet. In 2021, she authored a poem to celebrate the South African Reserve Bank's centenary titled A Purposeful Journey. Lebohang Masango joins us today to deliver another bespoke, purposely written piece of poetry titled Deep Ecology. Let's welcome Lebohang Masango.
After the day is done, we carry our bodies one by one, weary but wonderful, into nighttime's rest. The best parts of ourselves shared with each other in community, from Musina to Mossel Bay, from KwaZulu to the Karoo, working hard for the economic benefit of all. We give and take as much as we invest too. Each one of us bearing a testimony of living through the worst of times. Breathe here, whole in the light of the sun. We know that it is not only this common piece of sky that connects us beyond what our feet know. We stand here whole in the light of the sun. What connects us is not only how we share this common piece of sky with our feet firmly rooted in Mzansi. It is not only our roots spanning centuries beyond what the soil knows. It is not only our soil carrying the indelible footprints of our humanity. It is not only our humanity as declared and decreed by our Constitution's existence. It is also the insistence that we reckon with this climate crisis, that we preserve and protect the deep ecology that is our lived environment, how we must choose harmony over harm because we are all connected as we exist, robust and resilient, as far as the eye can see, revealing fauna and flora flourishing. A metaphor for how life must go on, how we must be resolute through death and rebirth, and blessed are we to be the custodians of this blessed piece of earth. This circle of life binds us inextricably, reminds us zisazojiga izinto, that we are but a cog in the universe's machine, that no matter how mighty our human deeds may be, each of us are nothing without the industriousness of the Cape honeybee. Tiny like a 10-cent coin, this bee puts in work, pollinating our plants so that our people can eat. From the aloe to the king protea, we reap beauty and medicines to heal. So much wonder under South African skies, the rich oxygen that our plants and trees provide. Feel that blue, breathe that green, like the fine feathers of the 50-cent coins Nice Naluri. Nesting in homes made in coastal forestry, our oceans provide home and joy to so many. The 2 rand coins with the springbucks, our notes with the big 5 coexisting happily, humans, animals, insects, all of us part of the big South African family. And we are a people built through struggle and sacrifice, as invoked by Nelson Mandela's legacy. Each time we exchange our rands, we share our heritage, our pride, our story. Our hands touch and hold each other up. Our hands power this economy. Our hands circulate our money. Our hands share the constitution, robust and resilient as far.
As the governor stated earlier on, you will start to see this campaign roll out from tomorrow, and it'll all be under the theme, Our Money, Our Pride. So you can expect to encounter it in the general media. And South Africans will also start seeing the new generation of banknotes and coins circulate today. If you would like to conduct interviews with the SARB executive, please make sure that you contact the team and they will facilitate for you. We're all prepared and ready to lead you to the right individuals. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You've been a wonderful audience. From the Nelson Mandela Foundation, it's goodbye. Thank you.